joining us this morning. I think we'll go ahead and get started because we are right at 9 o'clock and I want to be respectful of all of your time. So we're just really lucky to have Vickie with us today. And so we met Vickie during our reach outs when we were starting to try to gain sponsorship for our film. We found through some classes that we took on film distribution that this was a really powerful tool to kind of gain some fundraising for a film is to approach large organizations and see if we have like a mutual alignment that might be beneficial, reaching the same or similar target audiences, and just figuring out ways that you can work together. So Vickie is working at CMC right now. She's the director of marketing at CMC, but she has an extensive history, 24 years at Patagonia, including head of the retail marketing and channel brand marketing managing. She was also the VP of marketing at Trident Case. But the reason why I wanted to invite Vickie more than any other reason was because her passion comes from bringing compelling stories of brands to the forefront of public consciousness. And that's exactly what Bailey and I were trying to achieve with this film is how do we get the compelling stories of search and rescue in front of public consciousness and get them to connect to that. And so it's just really great that we have somebody that's super passionate about that, because we're all going to be using this film to try to fundraise, excuse me. So another really great opportunity with Vickie, I think, is that we get to look kind of behind the curtain to see kind of what these larger corporations are looking for when they're starting to develop relationships with us and figure out ultimately how to establish this mutually beneficial relationship that can extend beyond maybe this film project for many, many years for your organization. So I'm just really thrilled to have Vickie with us today and want to just hear about where you guys are all at with your questions on, or if you even have any to begin with, on how to begin to form relationships with larger corporations and maybe what the pitfalls have been that you've struggled with. Because I know Bailey and I have hit quite a few.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just chime in because we tried to kind of roll our viewing of this and invite other organizations to come and be a part of that viewing. And we really kind of didn't get the numbers that we thought we would. And that was difficult, even in our own community. Just, we sunk about $1,500 into the theater and we weren't charging for tickets. And we only had about 200 people come in a 1,500 person audience option. So that was really hard for us. But we knew we were sort of giving more than we were getting at that point anyway, because it was just sort of jumping to get this done and mostly to bring together other SAR organizations to show them the possibility. And we have other fundraising options developing out of this, but it's been really challenging. We did have a lot of support from some of the major companies that gave us some giveaway items, which was wonderful. And that was helpful for us to sort of incentivize people's involvement. But that's hard for everybody else to get. We can't just ask for those things. So one of the major things we're doing is we're starting a $1 million capital campaign. As of the new year, we're just running our annual fundraising. So right now, that annual fundraising has to happen, and then we can move forward for the $1 million capital campaign. And the biggest thing will be events that we want to put on that will support that fundraising. And one of the opportunities we have is to every Safeway in our county is offering us the ability to stand in front of their stores during Search and Rescue Awareness Week in May, and do a fill the litter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So my goal is to get matching campaigns from local companies and get radio stations to support us there to try to encourage people to come. And so developing those relationships for those matching campaigns, because generally I get crickets when I try to reach out to, the local Subaru dealership, or, how do I reach those major corporations? Because it's challenging. How do those relationships get developed? Because I think we have a lot to work with. It's such a positive program and it impacts so many people. It's not just mountaineering folks or people who are out there being adventurous. We search for your neighbor who has Alzheimer's, or your neighbor's son who has autism. And so we're in everybody's backyard. So we're trying to develop that relationship, as well as utilizing the movie to bring the community together again. So it's really challenging. So how do we appeal to those companies? That's my major question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm writing all this down. I thought we would have like an open discussion today, and then we can get back to you with pointed notes and suggestions, so you don't have to worry about keeping notes. Did you want me to answer that question now? And I have some ideas for you. One thing that I remember at Patagonia was we had this saying: it's relentless pressure, relentlessly applied. So I think you're doing a nice job in, doing this and adding on to that and getting here and getting there. And then using this experience, like when you go to Subaru and say, your local Subaru dealer, hey, we've got Safeway behind us. We're doing this event. Do you suppose that you can help us by being one of your donating your donors? I was just there. I forget what they call it. I'm trying to think of. I was just there getting my Subaru service, and it's something of love, spark of love. And they run the spark of love, at least in our area, at Christmas time, where they try to give, you have an option as a customer to donate to one or two different organizations that they're highlighting, and they're very local organizations. So I would imagine that you would need to maybe contact that person who owns the Subaru and explain, we have this kind of surge behind us, and it would be helpful if you can get us on your and ask specifically in your spark of love pack, promotion. And other organizations, there's so many layers to them. It's hard to determine who do you talk to first. And so I think it's a lot about just hobnobbing with people and rubbing your shoulders with people and getting to know people. And do they happen to know of a person? So that good old-fashioned networking takes a lot of time, but it would be helpful. Someone you may know knows another person at that organization. And then some of the organizations, you could kind of call them on it, like REI, is big in your area. And I know that they are big about, giving back to their local organizations, and maybe hitting them up and saying, I know that you probably have the year set up, but how can we get involved? And I think that you all have a really good message, because it isn't about, like you were saying, Allie, it's not just, a mountaineer going out there to the tops of the mountains, but everybody recreates, and everybody, is outside. They venture outside their homes. And so what's nice is you have an opportunity to also educate people about what you do. But it is tough, and I think that's what you need to do is just network and start finding, this person could get you lead to this person, and just keep on at that. But it's tough. It's something that requires a lot of relentless pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sure.
It seems to be the definite story Bailey and I have found. And I think what we found is that even if we find a company that just is a perfect match with what we're doing, it's just getting someone to respond. And so if you can find a way to reach multiple contacts within the organization and just find someone who can respond to you, then you've got a place to start. It's just getting that first person, and then that person knows where to point you and the next, and then that kind of snowballs until you get to the actual decision maker. So it can take multiple conversations before you get to someone who can help you get and achieve your goals. But so that's why we wanted this to be kind of the beginning of our expert speaker series, because it takes some time sometimes to get to that yes. And I think you guys can definitely achieve it. It's just going to take a little dedication of, you know, finding things that are in perfect alignment or really good alignment with search and rescue goals and values, and then like doing the work of reaching out and getting to the decision maker.
And also finding an advocate for you within the company. Like we found a lot of success of, oh, my uncle works at this company, and then start that discussion with this person that you have a personal connection with, and then help them lead you to the decision maker.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also wondering if going deeper with the organizations that give you these donations for the miscellaneous events and asking them, hey, who can we talk to for future funding or promotions? Even the people, you know, at CMC, we donate a lot of gear. So we're not the only people whose gear you use. So let's say Toffelberger for ropes, or Petzl for harnesses, or us for harnesses, for example. Ask those companies, hey, who can I talk to see about getting promotions? Not necessarily, I don't necessarily need more money from you or more product, but how can I get the word out about us and promotions? And then the other thing I was thinking about was fire departments. They're always trying to get involved in well, they are part of the community. But one of my jobs when I got out of college was a fundraiser for Muscular Dystrophy Association. And I know that the local fundraising offices for MDA had relationships with the fire departments, and we set up the Fill the Boot. And I don't know if they still do Fill the Boot in your areas. But I'm wondering if, you know, you got to know one of the captains there and ask them, how could you get in the rotation for Fill the Boot, or do something like you were doing the Fill the Litter? I love that idea, but how can they get involved? And maybe it's just the ask is, can you promote the Fill the Litter event at the Safeway and start a relationship that way?
Yeah, we generally already have a relationship with fire because that is part of our search and rescue, and the Fill the Boot came from the Fill the Litter came from Fill the Boot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so developing that for sure, using other outlets in the community to get the word out. But it's hard. Like one of our major challenges, and I don't know if other units have this issue, but when we're in a certain county in the same state, you can't really reach into other counties for your donors. So like people like REI is actually more like King County, Seattle based area, and they have a large search and rescue down there. So I find it challenging to reach across to those organizations because I don't want to take away from someone else, but I don't know how else to manage getting large donors. Like I Google my region or the county's largest employers. I try to tackle those initially. How does that come across to companies? Like, does CMC ever get requested to match campaigns, and is that something that your company would say yes to, and how is that developed? Because those are the questions I have in order to make it appealing.
Yeah, I'd say an answer to your first point was maybe instead of trying to instead of worrying about I don't know what's the word I'm trying to think, competing against other people in King County, maybe work with them so that there are two of you going toward REI, for example, or three of you going toward REI. For CMC, excuse me, it looks from the outside, I know this because people tell me this, that we're much bigger than we are. So we have a donation program based on how many products are left over from the buy that weren't sold, or things that were returned and refurbished, or things that we can get from our friends. Like, for instance, I mentioned Toffelberger or whatnot. And then I also, as a marketing department, that's how, where the donation requests come from. So at Petzl, for instance, if you want to go big, and Patagonia, they usually have donation programs or people that handle that. Excuse me. So you just have to get to know people unfortunately through that. And what's their angle? Matching, for us, a smallish company, dollars is harder to come by for us to donate than product, because we're a manufacturer. Excuse me, I'm having a coughing fit. I'll just be back if you guys want to continue talking.
Raquel, it looks like you had your hand raised for a question.
I was gonna just input to the REI question, and companies that are bigger, even though their headquarters are in King County, they've pretty much, I mean, they're aware because they have a footprint in other counties. Don't hesitate. I wouldn't hesitate to reach out to them. I mean, they're expecting it as they grew bigger.
Okay, well, that sounds good. I mean, I think we just don't want to step on toes. I'd rather, you know, collaborate, work together to get places, but we didn't get much response when we were developing the movie viewing plus the weekend that we did, where we hosted everybody from other counties to come up, and like Pierce County came and Whatcom County and Mason County. But we had put the outreach to everybody, and we heard crickets. And so then, but there is, like, you know, politics between different counties in the same state, or we're trying to make sure that we're not gonna capitalize on something that's not really meant for us necessarily, or would we like to, you know, work with each team and make a bigger effort in the state itself. You know, I worked with state SAR too to start developing some of this, because I think that's important to be viewed. It is hard because we're independent counties, but we each need the same the same donations.
I love your idea about the collaboration, and always, you know, I would lean towards collaboration first, but don't take it personally that you heard crickets. Like, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs about, look at how fun this is, look at it. And most of the members are like, yeah, bring me another mission.
Yeah.
It's just not on their radar.
Yeah.
It's just not a thought process that many do. So
What about anybody else here? Has anybody had good success in promoting or connecting with people and networking that you might want to share?
I know where we are, we're in a sort of like, growing up here was kind of a bedroom community. Now it's kind of turned into a retirement community. So there aren't any really large corporations. There is, interestingly enough, a retirement home that I think they're fairly far. I don't know if they're just the island or provincial, but they're the ones we're looking at that have actually have a nice theater, pretty small capacity, but in there they've done some fundraising for us. But other than that, like I say, we've got to take a drive and a boat ride to Vancouver, maybe to get a hold of these. But otherwise, we're looking like online, looking up for, you know, different corporations, trying to get ideas and grants and sponsorships. And it is a little daunting. And like you say, we're putting stuff out there, and there's like 70 some other groups in BC, plus the provincial organizations that are over there. So it's pretty challenging to try and like get noticed, I guess you'd say. So like locally we have a pretty good profile, but trying to get larger sponsorship is a challenge for us because of well, we like where we live, but there's not a lot of major industry or anything around here.
Yeah, there's the one.
Ken, I just
go ahead.
Oh, I just had a random idea, because Ken, isn't the show Alone based in Vancouver Island?
It has been. The first season it was in Vancouver Island, and it's yeah, they've sort of been all over the world, but I know they maybe a couple, 3 seasons they actually have done Vancouver Island, and people found out what the rain's really like when they get to northern Vancouver Island. So yeah.
Because I wonder if you could tap into that audience somehow, because I've never been to Vancouver Island, but every time I think about it, I just think of the show Alone, and that has so many followers. And maybe if you're tapping into people that are coming to visit rather than the local organizations.
and all the stars that they brought. So my point with that is find a reason why people would want to go. And actually, Allison, going to a movie theater for 200 people for your first event, I think is great. You know, that's nothing. I mean, I've had events where like no one shows up. So I think that's, even though you didn't fill it, that's your first time. That's wonderful. So I think you need to focus on what your message is, like what makes you different, Ken. Why should someone care about search and rescue or that particular search and rescue? Connect up with people who can communicate and can take you on and support you. And then networking is really there's just no way around it. You have to network. Unfortunately, people know other people. The other thing I wanted to add is, are any of you part of like bigger organizations like MRA and SARX and what else? You know, those other organizations, are they able to help and connect you with people or communicate out to their members? I'm drawing blank on some of the other nonprofit organizations that we donate money to or sponsor. I know it's ICAR is international, but that would be another option for you, is to be one of those members, and then you have access to their target market.
Sorry,
Bailey,
my internet went out, but
oh,
I was just, go ahead. And then after this, Kristen, I see you have something you could speak to. So go ahead, Nicole, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, Bailey and I were really trying to attach a large corporation onto the screenings that we just hosted recently in the Seattle area. And we found that we were really hitting a wall and just not getting there. And so what we ended up doing is lowering our price and going after smaller businesses and local businesses. And we found that chiropractors really like the story of a girl who falls and breaks her back and, and things like that. So there's opportunity with smaller businesses that maybe, you know, they don't have so many decision makers you have to get through to get to the yes. So, you know, lowering the price point and appealing to a larger, smaller local audience is kind of what we found the quickest route to get to some yeses, you know. So and that really just what we offered them was branding recognition, and we offered them a spot where we could speak about, you know, 2 or 3 sentences about their business before the screening started. And they really enjoyed that opportunity to be able to share their business with our audience, and they gave us some money to help us make this more successful. So that's another option.
How did you
Another
guys
thing-
find you're incentivized? How did you guys incentivize with your free giveaways? How did you guys find those? They were sudden, and I started seeing them and I was like, those are great ideas. Airbnb giveaways, things like that. How did you guys come upon those?
Yeah, that I was actually really surprised at the success that we had with that. One day I was like, I'm just gonna find a bunch of cool Airbnbs in the area and send them a message, let them know what we're doing. And I got 7 Airbnbs that said they were interested in doing giveaways, and then ultimately 3 that agreed. And so we did a trade-off. So I guaranteed a certain amount of social media posts, a certain amount of stories, posting in our newsletter. So those terms were very clearly laid out so that they were also getting some marketing. And I was tagging their Instagrams. But yeah, so that was really successful. So I would encourage everyone to give that a try, because people were really excited for the opportunity to win an Airbnb.
That was our Kevin Costner. We didn't have a Kevin Costner, so we got some free Airbnbs, and you know, it got people in the seats.
So yeah, you're appealing to what they like. You know, you're a very special group of people that put your own life at risk for others, but not everybody's like that. So yeah, that's a great example of, well, what am I going to get out of going to this movie? I might get a free Airbnb out of this, or So I like the idea of thinking bigger and outside of our little sphere of safety world, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then another thing I wanted to add on to Nicole talking about reaching out to local sponsors is what was great about having those partnerships is that they would then promote the film screening to their entire client list. So, you know, of course, we were doing promoting on our social media and our newsletters, but we're just reaching out to the same audience over and over again. So when you bring in those local sponsors, you're reaching a whole new audience, and we got quite a few of their patients coming to the screening. So that worked out really well. Okay, Kristen, looks like you said you have an opportunity to speak with Direct Relief.
Yeah, and I can get to that, but I want to back up to what you just said, which is really important about these other mailing lists, which, for example, there's this Hero Dog Award that Hallmark does. And a lot of dog handlers in SAR, they nominate their dog because it's a pretty big deal. If you win,
Yeah.
go on TV and everything, right? But they do it to get the mailing list, right? They do it because they want you and I to nominate the dog and our friends' dogs and all our friends to vote and everybody registers. So, I mean, some of those things seem a little contrived, but they're good and people are engaging because they're interested. So if you can think of some of those, I think that's a really good point, Bailey. And then I want to back up and tell Allison, I think you did great. I mean, if that's the first time you had an event like that, I remember Search Dog, the movie came out and they were going to small film festivals because they were trying to go through the same cycle, I think Bailey and the team here is. And even with the film festival in the Bay Area, I think they got 200 people who were all excited to be there. But I mean, that was a lot of promotion and they had a budget. So I think, you know, you guys should be really proud of what you did. And then I'll circle back before I talk about Direct Relief and just say, Vickie, I think you're right. I have a colleague who we raise money for the California Rescue Dog Association. So we're the biggest canine SAR team in California. And she's really good at just going, she takes her dog to the Subaru dealer. And of course, everybody comes around. They're like, tell us about the dog. You know, you have to use all the tools that you have in your toolkit. And she has gotten so much interest in just like personally showing up in local businesses. And I think even without a dog as a SAR member, people really understand what you're doing for the community. And they're really proud that, you know, volunteers, that spirit of volunteerism and helping make the community a safer, better place. So I think it's just hard. Some people don't like to ask for money or they don't like to start that conversation. But I think a couple of case studies maybe or a little in your group, here's how you start that conversation and don't be shy to ask. You may get shot down, but if you get 1 out of 2 or 3 out of 10 or whatever, I mean, it's better than not asking, right? And so I just encourage people on the phone to think about that. And it is a lot of, I mean, I think it was you, Allison, saying you were nervous about imposing on King County for REI. I'm sitting here in California thinking about REI. So please don't feel, you know, I appreciate collaboration because we're all going after some of the same corporations. And I want to get to a question after I talk about Direct Relief, who, Vickie, you probably know because they're in Santa Barbara too. And they're, I think, the most under the radar grant organization in the United States. They're the 3rd biggest, I think, after United Way and I don't know, Red Cross or whatever. And they set up a relief fund after the floods in California, but it's because somebody on their board had their house swept away in the mudslides in Montecito. You guys probably remember that. And he got involved in search and rescue and became kind of a somebody who experienced all this, just like in your movie, experienced all this, understood, and now has become an advocate. So I think that fund is going to be open for, they want to do not just the West Coast in the United States, but eventually international. And I have a contact, you guys, I can put my email in here, but you guys can reach out later if you want, because they really understand what goes into the hours and the training and search and rescue and are committed. And they gave us a substantial grant, which you can't always get those. Those are kind of unicorns, but they also, you know, they're nice if you can, right? Because it makes a little bit less of overhead and having to do that process. And they're shifting because if you look on their website, I put the link in there. They've primarily been healthcare oriented and underserved communities that are underserved in healthcare. But search and rescue is something that's near to their heart now. And I'd say anybody on this call should feel like they could put an inquiry in, and I can help you connect you to the director for that. So sorry for all the conversation, but please keep the ideas coming on the call. And I want to ask Vickie, you're a sponsor for a mountain rescue organization, which is a clear overlap in my mind between, what you do and the customers that you serve. Can you tell us a little bit more about what they provide to you in terms of benefits, or where your money goes, or where the equipment goes? Because I know that's some of our issue with asking sponsors. They want to know, like, are you going to buy radios, or are you going to use this for training, and just how to have that conversation or have that information ready.
Well, I say we have a form on our website, and then we have people answer this series of questions. How do you intend to use this? Give us a little bit of an explanation of your organization. And I'm trying to make it frictionless for people like you guys to get products and donations, because I know how hard it is to ask for that. And it's just when the money goes, we have to say no, or we just don't have anymore. And New Year starts with a new budget, and we will start up again. But CMC's sort of unicorn in that we're not really the type of people that go out there and pound on our chest and say, look at how great we are. We really do like to give money to the people or organizations or help or products so that they can do, really help fulfill their mission as well as our mission. So for local groups, if you need the help and we have the capability to help you, we'll do it. Now with Bailey, I've been asking her, and if I were to going to give you thousands of dollars, how will my company be represented? When it comes to bigger amounts of money, the people outside of our little family of search and rescue teams or fire departments, it is better for me to understand from a brand perspective, how is my company going to be represented? So I'm a little bit more careful when other companies come to us and want to work with us. We get calls a lot, for example, from TV shows, and they'll say, we want to use your equipment. Well, how are you going to use the equipment? They don't know how to use the equipment, first of all. So there's an opportunity there for them to use the equipment incorrectly.
Right.
And could get hurt themselves, and then that would be bad representative for us. And then they're big production companies like TLC or I can't think, these brand names that of will call us and say, if you want to donate your gear, you'll get your logo on our credits. Well, it's, to me in Hollywood, credits, having my little CMC roll in the credits and no one watches is not a good use of my time. So I tend to like to spend more time with the smaller people. And I think it might be my training from Patagonia too, is working with people that are in the field, rolling up their sleeves and doing the work that can really use that money. MRA and SARX and ICAR, ITRA, IDERS, those are all the organizations that we know are helping to the end game, helping you so you can help others. So we are sponsors, but we're not. Sprat's another organization. But again, we're not the top sponsors because I have a little bit of money that I've got to spread all around. But I'd have to say for us, we really try to be with the, help out the people that are helping others. That makes sense? Yeah.
Yep, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think
And
for
Mark,
all of
do
us,
you want to? Oh, I'm sorry.
I just think for
No,
all
go-
of us, we want to make sure that we're doing more than just showing the movie. I think that's something I've been trying to share with other teams, because just showing the movie is not going to get the people through the door. We talked about most nonprofits, and depending on your state, have opportunities to do giveaways or like auctions and things like that. You get some opportunities to do that once or twice a year. And I would say ball all of that into your whatever event. And the movie is a component to bring everybody together.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're trying to do. And then I think what our goal in this rolling multiple events to get there is to like bring the understanding of the movie to the public, because it was sort of like you didn't understand even when we offered it for free. that we couldn't get people through the door, and it just seems so odd, but there's just but the response of the audience was fantastic. So then it's, how do we develop that desire to come see it and to get it out there, and so I was working with Nicole and Bailey to try to get more of the movie out to the public, and so that people would want to come and see it. And you know, I don't know where we got with Alaska Airlines yet, but we're going to keep working on that.
Okay, first of all, number one rule in marketing, don't offer anything for free because they don't value it.
Mhm.
So make it something that is, you know, I wouldn't put $50 a ticket. What can people afford? You know, I do 20 or under. You know, and each market is different, but don't ever offer it for free. And I would say that people, like, if you maybe get a bunch of you together, if you're able to, and you're all putting it on, and then have the tabling. I don't know if you're able to have tables at your events, not only for the other search and rescue teams that might be working with you to put this movie on, but as well as the people that are contributing, the donors, to have tables. And maybe they could, because then they have to put a little bit more skin in the game. And if, you know, that gives them an opportunity to meet people that they otherwise wouldn't have met. And if you're all emailing, that's the other thing that Bailey had said. If you're all putting on your social media, you're all emailing, you're all putting on your website, then, you know, it just grows exponentially. And that might be something that, you know, develop a little package that says to be a part of this, you can do this, this, or this. Another idea is, you know, I mentioned for CMC, we're not the $1 million sponsor for some of these events or organizations. We're sort of somewhere in the middle, but it's, you know, if you donate this much money, this is how much you're going to notoriety you'll get, and, you know, all the way down. And, you know, I would start at $500 and then go up, you know, maybe $500 increments, and offer different levels so people can be, you know, maybe I can't afford 10,000, but maybe I could afford 5,000 or whatever. And if you get a no, ask them why. I wish people would ask me why when I say no sometimes.
That's a great point. MRA has a really good sponsorship package like you just described, so I'll drop that link into the chat here too.
Yeah.
That's great. And then to give you an idea of what we offered to our sponsorship package, we had a logo on our marketing materials, which you all will receive those, and those are customizable. So you can plop those logos right in. We had our MC shout out the sponsors before and after the event. We had, if they wanted to offer products, we did giveaways, and we did a raffle at our last screening where we earned,
Nice.
how much did we earn, Nicole?
Way more than we thought we would.
Yeah, way more than we
Um,
thought we would.
Yeah, it was just an afterthought. Let's just do a raffle for these Airbnbs. And so many people, well, we had the event start an hour early. And so they had an hour. And if they weren't going to stand in line to buy a drink or something, they didn't really have anything to do but look at the raffle items. and I think that's what's so great about this tabling opportunities too, is if you can get a brand like Arc'teryx or somebody who wants to come and show off their gear, maybe they would be willing to, you know, put one of their coats in for a raffle item or something. And so then you have two different opportunities. Not only do you make money off of the brand who wants to table by, you know, charging them a price to actually physically be there, but then you also get a raffle item that you can kind of get people interested in buying tickets for.
Mm-hmm. And then we also did, yeah, so tabling, like Nicole said, and then we had social media posts, website features, and emails. So coming up with really clear terms about, you know, we're going to post once a week, or we'll do 3 posts. You just send us your logo or your materials, and making sure that it still aligns with your mission, because you don't want to be posting things that are totally unrelated to your chapter. So finding a way to kind of make it a compelling message. And then, did I mention the photo booth? So we also did a photo booth where we had our Where the Rope Ends logo, and then we had logos of our sponsors. And that was really great because we had, I had just friends that were photographers that came to each of our events, took professional photos, and then we were able to send those out after the
How did you
event. So
get a
now
plan?
there's all these shareable materials.
Nice. Yeah, so having a little package together like that takes the guesswork and out of the other person on the other line when you're asking for support, and they don't have to do any work. The other thing, having worked at Patagonia too, is I would imagine there's a Patagonia store in most of your communities. Go to them, because they used to have, when I was marketing their own funding for local organizations. And if you kind of explain to them, hey, everybody recreates in the outdoors, and we're the people they call when they get in trouble. There's a direct connection to that brand. And that might be something else. When you reach out to people, why are you reaching out to me? Well, a chiropractor, here's a person that could get hurt and might need your services. Yeah, make that connection in that regard, not just because you're calling people off of a list of businesses,
And you could get creative too, like with the chiropractor. At one point, we talked about for a certain sponsorship level, which they ended up not going for because we kind of did this a little last minute. But we pitched them doing a little talk about showing a skeleton and pointing out what happened to Nicole's back. And so you can really customize things for each sponsor. And then Mark, I want to have Mark talk about your 21 PR events that you held that you mentioned.
Yeah, let me get my camera on so you can see my face there. Yeah, let's see here. We have a pretty strong community involvement. There's a lot of us in search and rescue are more field searchers, and we spend a lot of time training for that. But we have a good number of people in the organization who are, let's just say, they're not really the type that you'd send out in the field too often. So they spend a lot of their time with PR. So some of those events would include we send a team to Ironman to do basically the volunteers for Ironman in order to do crowd control. So that gives us a huge number of a huge amount of visibility, right? We have people who go to all of the elementary schools to give hug-a-tree programs. So little Johnny and Susie go home and tell their parents about our SAR organization, what cool it is. Let's see here, what else? Oh, we do our county fair. We offer these little bracelets that the parents can put on their kids with their cell phone numbers. So if they get separated, if we find a kid, we can contact the parents who are often in a bar. So that has a lot of visibility. And when there is somebody lost at the fair, we fan out and find the lost person and reunite them. So that kind of 21 days. Also the fairs. Oh, sorry, the parades like at 4th of July or whatever. We are in that as well. So that creates a kind of a foundation where when we go to these companies, and usually they're smaller companies in our organization, or sorry, in our region, the name recognition is already there, right? So that removes a big hurdle, I think. That's it.
I think that's a really important thing, is to talk about that hurdle. Any way that you can lower the threshold for that is a good thing. And a lot of these connections that you're going to make with organizations for this movie are just maybe smaller than what you want. Maybe they're just going to give you a couple of products or something that you can raffle off. But that's the beginning point. And what we've learned through classes that we've taken is that the people who have donated to you in the past are much more apt to donate to you in the future. And so establishing those relationships now is only going to benefit you in the years to come. And you can develop that relationship, get to know that organization better, figure out how you can have this mutually beneficial relationship that we're talking about, so that that can grow into a bigger partnership in the future. So don't be discouraged if you only get something little from the first reach out, because I think it's just kind of like the handshake, you know, that's the beginning of the conversation.
Good idea. I was just thinking too, hospitals might be interested in supporting you.
Mm-hmm.
They probably see a lot of people come through their doors as a result of some mishap. What about some of you? So Mark sounds to me like he's a little bit more, they're more established or organized or bigger. And some of the people that might be from SAR teams that are smaller and just, you know, have day jobs and they do this as a volunteer. Do any of you have that situation and have had anything to successes that you might want to share for those who are smaller and not as PR savvy, perhaps? Something that's worked for you?
Sort of an issue we have here is kind of like what Mark was saying. A lot of the people that join search and rescue, they don't say, "Oh, goody, I get to stand and outside and sell raffle tickets." It's not really what they're into. We do have a number of, say, members that have retired out or people have moved in. They say aren't going into the bush, and they tend to be interested in logistics. And we've been sort of trying. We have a local realtor who's been a supporter for a long time, trying to get like a fundraising group going. And for a time, we had one of our members who had moved from back east, was an excellent fundraiser, and that he's kind of laid a bit of a foundation for us. But to try and keep that momentum up is a real challenge because,
Yeah,
like you say, that it's most people. There's the odd one, but most people that join search and rescue, they see the people going off the cliffs and searching through the bush and bringing people out. It's the first. Their idea of joining search and rescue isn't sort of writing grant letters and doing all that.
Just a quick comment, if I may. We're not a big organization. We have 60 members. Less than half are field qualified. We have people who are in food service, so we go to various events, basically provide food for people.
Mhm.
There are probably 3 people who do most of our lottery or whatever the tickets, sales, and those 3 people plus some others, much less numbers of people, much less numbers of tickets, have pulled in about 40K last year.
Wow.
So that's yeah, and it's a lot of it's because of the recognition, right? Being at the fair, the county fairs where we do most of our sales, we man every gate has one of us handing out the little bracelets for the phone numbers, and people now come to us. We don't have to basically be the the circus marker at the gates announcing ourselves. People will come directly to us, and we sell lottery tickets there. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be a big organization, but I would say promote, when you go recruit those people that can do fundraising.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And
So
then
I
always
am
be
a
there.
philanthropy person for Snohomish County.
Yeah, good.
And philanthropy is really hard to do. A lot of times what they're asking for with money for the organization is actually for assets of, like, we need a new roof over our hangar for the helicopter, or a new hoist for the helicopter. And when we look for grants, grants don't want to support that. They want to support programs or outreach. And so it's been really challenging, and that's why we're operating the capital campaign moving forward, because we have so many things that have been put aside for so long. And it's hard. I'm not a professional in that. I have a lot of know-how from helping other nonprofits, and that's where I'm like gaining momentum. And so what I have found outreach in the community is there's usually a nonprofit that's large in your county or in your region. And that developed in the last decade or so because of things like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They stopped wanting to give to individual organizations, and they started giving to more of an endowment fund in the community, so that the community itself could discern who was deserving, so that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation didn't have to figure that out. So then I've gone to them and I've learned a lot more because they offer classes on nonprofit work, outreach, grant writing, things like that. And so I'm learning as I'm going and finding different ways to be creative and engaging in the community. And I love the idea about, we actually did the fair this year, but I didn't even think about, we did have a lot of lost children that we had to go after. So having that bracelet option is really great. But sometimes just even getting budget together to have, like, we gave out whistles that came out of my own pocket. I spent a couple $100s on emergency whistles to give away, something to make an engagement with the community members. So that's actually a really fantastic idea, and finding local ways to, like, I think for a lot of people don't understand that whole in your backyard thing, maybe Alzheimer's groups or autism groups in the area, connecting with those family members. And the other thing I started doing, it's very time consuming, is to speak at public venues with, like, I had a church group that has all seniors, and I ended up doing a presentation to them about search and rescue. You know, a family member with dementia walks away and you spend 20 minutes looking for them, and all of a sudden that area where they might be gets exponentially bigger. I taught them about that and why to call search and rescue, and that we're a free entity, so that you will call them, so that you won't wait. And that's just all of a sudden spirals to people donating. And it's helpful because you're developing in the community that really needs you and services them. So those are my other inputs, because I feel like I'm constantly seeking ways to find new outlets in our community in order to gain support, because we can't just keep getting the same donors all the time. And, you know, and it really sometimes takes an unfortunate natural disaster, like all of you know, in Washington State, especially the Oso landslide, we had international donors for that. And that money came in and was a super help for a long period of time. But it's sad to think that that's what it might take to get on the map, to find people to invest in your organization. So looking local and who might be impacted by that. So thanks for sharing those ideas, Mark.
Yeah, so in Prescott, we kind of have a couple extra challenges. We're kind of like the redhead stepchild around here. Nobody knows about us. We're not allowed to have social media. You know, most of our searches are at night, so no one ever sees us. Like even this morning, there was a news release about a mutual aid we did with fire, and they talked about fire and didn't mention us at all. So pretty much all of our funds come from grants that we have to fight the entire city for. So this is one of the big reasons we want to do this. And any ideas to what we can do other than just advertising? I don't know what else we could do here.
Glenn, what sort of, yeah, Glenn, what sort of companies are you situated around? Like, where are you going to show the film, and how are you going to do that?
We have one local theater, and then the college is probably the better idea. We have some contacts there that we'll probably get it free. Won't have to be charged for anything to show it there. But we're kind of a small town, so we just got an REI like last week. So, I mean, other than that, it's Costco and Walmart. That's about it.
Yeah, and you know, Costco does a $2,500 giveaway monthly for, by the way, just so you know, because we just got a $250 gift certificates from $250 gift certificates from them for our big event, and it helped feed our group. And so going to them for those kind of things, you can do it monthly, so they might support.
Every time we've gone there, it's been a $25 card. That's it. So I don't know if that's different here.
What about your local, do you have local grocery stores or, you know, drugstores, doctors?
We do, but like I said, there's everybody in the community is fighting for the couple, you know, giveaways and donations that it's pretty rare that we get something from them. Usually water, like we'll get cases of water here and there, but that's about it.
What about, you know, getting together with other organizations that are like-minded and putting, you know, your heads together and efforts together for this event?
We've tried, there's a couple other local search and rescue teams. One of them's in Sedona. which is kind of like higher end, and they're basically, they don't need money, so they're like, yeah, we'll help you, but we don't need money. So yeah,
Well,
kind of
maybe
a
they
unique
can help you
situation.
promote it. Yeah, say
Yeah,
we need you then. Could you help us promote this?
possibly, yeah.
You know, because they need to have a little, y'all should be in this together, right?
Yeah.
Right. And we work with them all the time. It's just, yeah, this is kind of a new situation for us.
Wow.
And Glenn, what is the reason for you all not being able to have social media?
Our sheriff doesn't want us to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you're not able to get the recognition for all the great work that you all are doing. Is there any way that you could, like, maybe taking people that you have rescued in the past and like getting them together for a think tank and having, because it sounds like you need awareness of what you all are doing, and maybe they have local connections to companies in the area, or they can do a push on their social media.
Yeah, we don't really have any contact with most of them. Most of them, because we're a mountain town, so they're just visitors and, usually out of the area. But yeah, going forward, we can try that. Try to get some information from them.
I think one thing we discovered when we were trying to launch our movie was that we needed to, since we didn't have an established audience beyond our friends and family, we needed to reach out to people that already had an established audience that could speak for us. So I'm not beyond asking my church that I go to post about us in their newsletter. I'm not beyond, like there are organizations that are around that really do agree with what you guys are doing. It's just connecting with them and seeing if they're willing to share your message. And I think that's the start of something really brilliant moving forward.
Yep. Yeah, that was one of our ideas too. So yeah, because we don't know what we can do on our own. So
Hmm.
kind of trying to find other organizations.
Rock climbing gyms is another one. Rock climbers seem to be fans of the film, and they have a huge client base, and they have newsletters and social media, and so partnering with them to get the word out could be helpful as well.
Okay, yeah, we do have one in town. So
Nice.
Yeah, Glenn, I put my email to you in a direct message, just so you know, because I might be able to
okay.
help you with some of that. And that's something I was going to say for us. We have tiny communities in our county that they kind of rely on that public coming in. We have over 5 million visitors a year to use the Pacific Crest Trailer section that is in our county. And so speaking to those small communities who benefit from those folks, any of those businesses actually really want to support us. So you'd be surprised at the small companies. I'm just challenged at the bigger matches, and that's you can Google corporations in your county or however your organization works. But there are some out there. I'm just try to keep it going because I do get some crickets sometimes, or is it I just have to physically go there, be that squeaky wheel, like Vickie said. I think that motivates me to get back at it again and keep asking, because I think that sometimes they need to be heard. They need to hear us like 5 times before they understand really what we're doing. Because I think a lot of people don't understand it, and then when they see it, they okay, and so we do get some interest, but I think it's just taking a really long time, which is hard because we only have a few months till the movie becomes available for everybody else. So
And
Okay.
I liked Mark's idea too, of how, they're at events where a lot of people are. And so as long, people start getting used to seeing their search and rescue team and then realizing, oh, I have a need, or if I have a need, or they're good people, they're really out here. So maybe getting involved in local events or going someplace like Allison did and talking with different groups about what you do. Not necessarily with a handout, but just a public service announcement is always nice too.
Great. Thank you.
Takes time.
And Wyatt from Mark's team is going to post on our Facebook page all 21 events that they held to help spark some ideas. So it looks like we're at time. Nicole, you want to close us off?
Oh, I just think that it's so great. Once we got the juices moving, everybody has such great supportive ways that they want to share with other people. And I think that's the real benefit, one of them anyways, of this film project, is that we can all share our knowledge and try to just do better for one another and for our communities. So I'm really grateful that we have this, that you guys all came and helped support one another today. And just really thank you so much, Vickie, for taking time out of your day to give us an insider's perspective. So because we're just kind of trying to make it up as we go. I feel like a lot of us are. None of us have a background in this marketing stuff. So it's just great to hear your viewpoint on all of this. So does anyone have a last burning question that they've been waiting to ask before we go?
Just thanks very much to everybody. That's great.
Yeah, just thank you for sharing all the ideas. I think I can relate with a lot of you guys. We're a really small county, and so it's a little bit intimidating, the thought of filling an auditorium. And there's the added difficulty of we're just a small organization, so I can really identify with some of the others as far as the people needed to make something like this happen and it not just fall on one or two people in our organization. But I do appreciate everything that you guys are doing to equip us and help us with what we need to pull off a successful event. So thank you.
You are welcome. And everyone, I just want you to know at any point, if you have any questions or any needs that we haven't, equipped you with, please feel free to reach out by email and let us know so that we can try to fill those holes for you.
And I'll put my email on the page again, or please make sure you share my email, because we were sort of like, we pioneered a little bit of this already and learning from some mistakes and learning what we have in our local area. So I'm happy to share that with everyone.
Yeah, actually, Allie, I haven't asked you yet, but I'm thinking that maybe you should be one of our expert speakers because you guys have firsthand knowledge of what it was like to throw one of these events. So
yeah, well, and we're raising a lot of money right now. It's actually I think helped because of promoting that movie. So I do think there's some after effects that we didn't know about. So
yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to go ahead and let Vickie go and let you all get back to your day, but feel free to keep this conversation going on our Facebook page. I think you guys are all aware we've got that there for you guys to start communicating with each other. As ideas come to you in the middle of the night, you can jot it in there and just share your knowledge with the rest of the group. I think it's super helpful, and I think that we've all kind of figured that out through this conversation today.
Yeah, and good luck, and thank you all for all the work that you do day in and day out. I mean, that's never said enough, so I appreciate all of you.
All right.
Thank you, Vickie.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.